I get so many questions about live streaming on my channel because one of the videos that sort of was the top video for me is actually how to live stream for musicians. However, I made that video in March of 2020, about a week before we went into lockdown in the UK. This is going to come up to 5 years, and that's 5 years ago I made that video. So it's high time I made an updated version because so much has changed, and actually it's never been cheaper to go live. Now you've clicked on this video probably because I'm talking about price. So I'm assuming you've got either a PC or Mac, it doesn't matter. And it's about upping the quality of your streams as a musician. One of those elements is audio, which we'll get into a little bit later, but the main thing is visuals, and that's why we're going to be using these. This is the Tiny SE, and this is the Meet SE. They're both made by a company called OBSBOT, who are sponsoring today's video. Now I've already done reviews on both of these, so if you want to go and see those, I'll leave cards up in the video, and there'll also be a link in the description box to the different videos. However, this one is a little PTZ camera, and it can move and track and move around and track you by AI, and that in the US is $99. Where the Meet SE is its little brother, it doesn't have the movable camera, but it does track you with AI still, and that in the US retails at $69. So assuming you already have an audio interface and a computer, then the total price for these two is $168 in the US. Or if you're not running around too much or moving around too much and you don't need the PTZ element, then two of these is $138. So today I'm going to break down how I'm going to set up a live stream with these two cameras. The Tiny is going to actually track me, and the Meet I'm going to put on the mic stand to have a look at my pedal board. Both are going to get plugged into a computer, and then I'm going to show you two different free softwares that you can use. One is stupidly easy, and the other one is a little bit harder, but you have complete customization. Hey, what's going on? It's JP. Welcome to the channel. If you've never been here before, we talk about live looping, live streaming, and all the tools you'll need for the modern musician. So have a look around the channel, and if it's something that you like, then maybe subscribe and you can know when the next video is out. Now, whether you pick the Tiny SE or the Meet SE, inside the box, one of the things other than the actual camera itself, which by the way, even the Meet is tiny, they come with either a little adapter to put on the back of your laptop monitor or your desktop monitor, and inside here is the USB-C cable. It's USB-C to C, but what they do is they give you this little adapter which is USB-C to USB-A, and they arrive in every OBSBOT camera that I get, and they're great. So if I've got an older PC, I can still use this, but then if you haven't and you've got a newer computer and it's just USB-C to C, you just need that cable, but that's really handy if you ever need it. Really cool. So welcome to the OBSBOT Center. This is the software you get with these cameras. Now this one, the one that I'm talking through now, is the OBSBOT Tail Air. That is their flagship one, and I've done a video all about that, how it is 4K and it can move around, it can record through SD card as well. But ignore this one for now. We're going to concentrate on these two. This one right here, the one that I'm pointing at, in fact I'm going to make it red. This is the Tiny. This is this tiny little camera. It can move around just like its bigger brother, like the Tail Air. And then you've also got this one. This is the Meet, and the Meet is the one that's a little bit wider. But what you can do is it doesn't have that PTZ camera. Now, because they're both running through OBSBOT Center, I can see both cameras at the same time. In fact, I can see up to 4 cameras with OBSBOT Center, which is really, really cool. And then I can change the ISO if I want to. I can change what the lighting is. I can move the gimbal around. So, for example, the Meet SE still has a gimbal and it moves around based on if we're going sort of like medium and narrow. I can then move that up, and all it's doing is very cleverly just moving the sensor, or moving around the sensor, I should say. If I go to wide, I can't move it around because it's the wider sensor. But that camera, I'm going to be pointing down at my pedal board, and then I'll frame it in the right way. This one, Tiny SE, you can see it has a lot more you can do with it. So you can do things like tracking. So I can go normal tracking, and then as I move around, it'll start tracking me. I can go to the Meet and say, right, start tracking me as well, and it will do auto framing. We start doing like a close up and it'll start auto frame. So I move around like this. You see that? It's starting to move around Anyway, I've told the tail air to stay where you are. So both of these are doing that. I can change the image. So on the Tiny, it's a little bit bright right now. So I'm going to just change that, change the exposure. There's a compensation there. I'm just going to bring that down to 0. So it's a little bit darker. That's cool. And as I move around, then that Tiny will start moving, like physically moving, but then the meat will actually start zooming in and out, depending on what you're doing. So you might not need all of this. You might not need it to do auto framing. You might just go, right, it's in the right place, and that's fine. I keep looking at different cameras. I've got 3 on the go at the moment. But these 2 right here, running at 1080 each, is fantastic, because what I can do is I can then use that in software, and that's our next step. So obviously plugging these in, getting the OBSBOT Center software from OBSBOT, you get them updated so they're updated, and that's all fine. And then the next part of this is actually using your audio interface, and then we're going to use some free software. The first one we're going to use is the one where we just need to build a couple of things and then it's ready to use, and that is OBS. Be aware, this is OBS Open Broadcast Software. It isn't actually associated with OBSBOT. They are a separate company, but it is completely free software. And then we're going to build a really basic live stream to show you how that would work. So now I've got OBS here already. If I boot up OBS, this actually runs through to my YouTube channel, so I can do that straight away. I'm going to create what's called a scene. You have scenes, and inside each scene you have a lot of sources, and then from sources you have your audio mixer, and you can start recording or you can start live streaming. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just build this up. So right now we're going to add a video capture device. We're going to call this Tiny SE, because then I know which one it is. And then it asks me, which device do I want to use? So I'm going to use the Tiny SE. There it is. I can actually set which one it's on, and at the moment for some reason it's upside down. I don't know why that is, but we're going to go 1080 and force it to be 1080 all the way through. We'll go OK, and hi, I'm upside down. But what we can do is we can move that round. That's not an issue. And there we go. Now I actually want this to be not the main camera. I want people to see the paddleboard, and that's going to be the Meet SE. So we're going to add another video source. So we'll do that right now. We'll go Meet SE. So you can call it what you want, but it doesn't really matter. And then it's going to, well, you can use the Tiny again if you want to, or I can use my phone. But I'm going to use the Meet. We're on high, but I'm going to force it to go 1080. There we go. And then let's move that round as well. So this one is going to be the one that's underneath. And the reason why is because the hierarchy of this is whatever's at the top is on top. So I'm going to switch these round. It doesn't look that different right now because you've got the same look. So what I'm going to do is with the Tiny SE, that one is going to be my face, and I'm going to make that smaller. So I want that to be smaller. And then the Meet SE, if I just grab it right now, let's just say we're looking at this, for example, that's my paddleboard is there. Then that way you can see the paddleboard and you can see me. Now all the way through this I've been playing around with OBS, and there's loads of YouTube videos and YouTube channels dedicated to OBS, but the great thing with this is I'm still using these 2 cameras, and I've still got OBSBOT Center. So with OBSBOT Center, I can control the image. So I can say, actually, I don't want you to autofocus. I want you to manually focus, and I don't want auto exposure. I want to pick the exposure. So we're going to have it at 100, and that's fine. The white balance, no, I'm going to change that over so it's a specific white balance. So you can start messing around with this in a certain way that you want. So you have it in a certain look or certain style, which is really cool. And that's just 2 cameras. What you can then do is when you press the plus button, we can add in loads of things. But the key one for musicians, we need to add in an audio input capture. So now I'm going to go audio input capture. So I'm going to say audio interface. There we go. And then it's asking me which one. Now I've got lots of different connections here, and that's all fine, but mine is the AudioFuse Studio. So it brings the AudioFuse Studio in, and there it is. And then just to prove that this is working, I've got a mic connected to it. Can you see that? It's starting to move now. Hello, 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 hello. Now that's one microphone which is left, but I want it to be mono. So I can go in here and I can go to advanced properties, and I can say, well, actually just make that mono. So now it's mono. As I start talking in, it's not just going to be in the left, or it's going to be in the left and the right. Or you can make it in stereo. So if you've got a left and a right, like I've got a loop paddle, left and a right goes in channel 1, channel 2. and then it works. It is that simple, and then everything else to do with OBS is how you have it set up. So this is one scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, I'm going to click duplicate scene. We're going to call this scene 2. It doesn't matter. And you can see everything's been duplicated, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move things around. So I'm actually going to have this one about that big. That's fine. And we'll have that one about the same-ish. Obviously, I'm doing this very quickly. We'll do that like that. There we go. In fact, we'll make that just a little bit smaller. Now, these two, obviously the two separate cameras, and you can lock them. So once you know you've got them in the right place, you can lock them in place. So therefore, you can't move them by mistake. So we can now go from scene 1 to scene 2, and you can see it goes through a little fade there, and that's right here. You can add loads of plugins to OBS. You can add loads of cool things. But let's change the fade to 500 milliseconds. So now when we go there, just a little bit slower. It's quite nice. There we go. We could have it where we only go to one camera, or we could have to go to 2 cameras. We can add a background. So we can actually go and add an image. So I'm going to add an image. We're going to call this background. Then it asks us, where is this image on your computer? So we're just going to find it. So I've got on my documents, I've got my assets, I've got photo assets. So I've got, let's have a look. I've got this nice background that I've made. So if I do that, we can add this background on, and then I'm going to bring it down to the bottom. There we go. Nice little live stream going on here. I'm then going to copy this, go to scene 1, and I'm actually going to duplicate it. I'm going to paste it. So paste, duplicate, and then put that at the bottom as well. Now, the reason for this is because I'm actually just going to make this just ever so smaller. So it just kind of pops through a little bit. It's quite sort of trendy to do that. And you can see where it's sitting. And you can do things like shapes, and you can do all kinds. And I'm literally just clicking on things. It makes that pop out a little bit, which is cool. And then we go over to scene 2. There we go. It's side by side. So you have to build things with OBS. But once it's built, it's yours. I could put titles on here. I can scroll titles. I could put PNGs where they've got no background, and then it would be see-through, so you can put really cool things on there. There's even companies who make pre-made scenes for you, so you can just drop them in, and that's really cool. But the key thing for musicians is the audio interface, as I tap my microphone here. And then this is the beginning of your live stream. And then, of course, we can just start streaming straight away. It already knows I'm connected to YouTube, and that's fine. Let's add one more thing before we finish this section up. And then what we'll do, I'll show you the stupidly easy version where you don't need OBS. But let me show you this. I'm going to actually add another image. We're going to call it logo. Let's add that. And then let's find my logo. Again, it's something I've made. I've got a logo here, which is that one. So we click that, done, and then I can put that in the corner there. Just drop it out a little bit. Nice. It's on top because I want it to be on top, and that's fine. I'm going to duplicate that. So we're going to copy that on scene 1. We're going to paste it, duplicate, and there it is straight away. And I can lock them. So now if I lock them all I need to do is go between scene 1 and scene 2. If I'm on here, if I go onto scenes, I can go onto scenes. Once you're on there, I can just go up and down, and there we go. So if you've got loads of scenes, ones with like sponsored content on, or different looks, like you just want to see one camera, we can go from here to here, and that's all fine. And there's loads of keyboard shortcuts in OBS. Now, if you're not right next door to the computer when you're live streaming, or you haven't got access to your keyboard or mouse, then one of the accessories you can get from OBSBOT is a remote control. You're able to control the different cameras by selecting them, and then also you can control the pan, the tilt, or if you've done the presets, you can press a button and it can change presets. It can change where it's looking, which is really, really cool. So if I'm all the way over there performing and the computer is here, then I'd have to walk over, press the button, or take these with me. Whereas if I've got the remote next to me on the mic stand or close by, I can just press a button and then the camera can change direction and move, which is really cool. Now, if you are planning on doing things at a distance, the only thing with that is obviously the cable that comes with is a certain length. I think it's 1 meter? Is it? It's more than 1 meter actually. I think it's probably nearly 2 meters. So it's a 2 meter cable. But if you need anything longer than that, of course, that's the only other caveat with that. But 2 meter cable coming from your computer, it's not the end of the world. Now with the Meet SE, you can see it comes with this little stand. It's magnetic, and the Tiny actually has that stand built in. So if you're going to put it on your monitor, that's really cool. But what I like about both is they both have a 1/4" thread. So if you're not familiar with camera tripods, this is the camera tripod thread, and that's great because I can just put them on a camera tripod. Or if you want to put them in really crazy situations, I bought this. This is a small rig clamp, and it's got that tripod bit on. So this is going to go on the mic stand, and then this is going to be pointing down at my pedal board. So I can just screw that into there, he says. There we go. And then I can position this wherever I want and how I want. So I want it pointing down. It's going to be clamped to the tripod, and that's it. So then that way it's just really portable. You can see how small it is, and it works really, really well. Okay, so my cameras are following me right now, and I've got the clamp here. As you can see, this is the Meet. The Tiny is sitting just on the desk, and that's all fine. So as I move around, it follows me, and that's all cool. I've also got my main camera, the tail air, following me as well. So I'm going to put this, I could put this on the mic stand just like this, and then I could adjust it accordingly to be like that on the floor, so we can get a second look. Or what I'm planning on doing, and if you'd like to follow me to the floor, is I'm going to put it on the mic stand just further back. I can put it in a really, really cool look like this, for example. And I've just got to get the look right. I've just got to figure it out and move it around. But that's okay, because I can just figure that out, move it around where I want. And let's say I want it there. So if I clamp that now, and there we go. So now what you've got is you've got this one here. This is tiny, so I can be singing here, and that's fine. I could elevate it a bit more so you don't see the ceiling. And then the Meet is actually just looking at the pedal board as I press the pedals, and that's all fine. Let's put this into OBS, so give me 1 sec. And now we're in OBS, we've got this scene here where you can see me in the corner, but you can actually see the pedal board, or we can do the side-by-side view. I can obviously change them around, no matter what. I'll have my microphone set up here and play, and then at the same time you can see the pedal board. And it looks great. It looks fantastic. Another thing as well is I've got obviously Tiny following me on quite a slow setting. Both of these cameras are currently set to auto. It's auto ISO, auto exposure, auto lighting, and I've just got my normal lights up here, and we're ready to live stream. It's fabulous. It works really, really well. What more do you want? So that's OBS. It's incredibly simple when you get your head around it. But if you want something ridiculously simple, then I'm going to show you what I use for my live streams. And I used to use OBS for quite some time, but then I found this system, which is easier. I'm lazy, and also it can actually push your live stream out to more than one place, and it's called ReStream. ReStream is a really, really cool way where you can log in. You can see I've got a free version here. I did have the pro version. I'm just going to leave it on the free version just to show you what you can do. Now you can actually upgrade. If you click on this, it shows you what the prices are. So the standard one is $16 a month, and then you've got the professional one. That's what I'm normally on. But what the big thing is, even if you go for $16 a month, it will remove the watermark for ReStream. It's got a little logo. You can get rid of that. But just to show you, I'm going to actually leave it on the free one, and we're going to create a brand new stream. Now, you can record audio and video straight away. You can do a video playlist, encode through OBS, so you can use OBS to go into ReStream, and you've got ReStream Studio. So if you don't want to use OBS or Zoom or whatever you're using, just want it to look a little bit more professional, you've got ReStream Studio. Now when you click on this, it's really clever because it figures out what your audio interface is straight away, hi, and it actually can show, it's picking up the microphone that I've got, but I'm going to use the audio interface. And then we are using the Tiny SE, and that's fine. But for musicians, you need to turn on and off one or two things. So go into the settings. We're not mirrored, that's fine. So the camera's not the wrong way around. With audio, we need to turn one or two things off. We're using the AudioFuse Studio. As you can see there, it's bouncing up and down. What we're going to do is we're going to actually click echo cancellation and turn off. We're on an audio interface, so we don't need it to do echo cancellation. We don't need it to do noise suppression, but we do want it to be a stereo audio input and we want it to be a high resolution audio as well. We do not want it to do auto gain control either. So turn these 2 on, turn these 3 off. You can, if you want, have a virtual background, and there are shortcuts as well for adding things, and that's fine. But we'll go into it now, and we'll get that sorted. So now that's all sorted, you can put your name there if you want, and then you can go enter studio. So once this does this, hi, we're now in a studio, which is called ReStream Studio. It's on Chrome, or you can use Safari if you want. And I haven't done anything other than told it what to use. I built this in the background already. So it says you can go pro here. There's some pro features. So the pro features obviously are what we saw before. We can hit record, add channels, go live, and then all down the side here, you've got different things for design. But the big one really actually for this, and this is the key one for using these 2 cameras, is we can add an extra camera. So if we add an extra camera, it's already figured out there's a Meet SE. We're going to make sure it's not mirrored and add that in. And as you can see here, we've got 2 cameras. So now we've just done in seconds what it took a couple of minutes to actually build up on OBS. The downside is you don't have as much flexibility, but you can still change things around. So you can customize. You can see underneath here, we've got different looks. So maybe you've got this look for you and then that look for the pedal board, or other way around. I quite like this one, so I'll put me down in the corner here, and then the pedal board is the big screen. You may have seen that before. We're actually live streaming at 720, and both of these cameras are 1080, so it's absolutely fine. If you bring more guests in, you can add guests or add a camera or add a video presentation. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. You can even share your screen as well, but then you've got what it looks like for landscape, or we can go portrait. And if you want to actually do this to things like Instagram or TikTok, you can push this out to here just like that, really, really cleverly. And again, you've got a couple of different looks just to make sure it looks right on your system, whatever you want it to look like. I obviously live stream in landscape because I live stream on YouTube. So we normally use this look and then this look. And then the additional stuff is you've got scenes, just like you've got scenes in OBS. So I can have another scene here, which has got another media source or something else. So I can move scenes. I'm going to add a scene. And one of the scenes I do is a countdown. So nice and simply, I'm going to bring that up to the top. And the countdown is going to be for 2 minutes. And then we're going to have a little bit of music playing in the background if I want to. So while that's playing, there we go. And you might not be able to hear that. And then you can change what the background picture looks like. And then at the end of the countdown, it just moves over to the next scene, which is really clever. On this side, you've got design, and this is where I've imported loads of different things. So you'll see lots of different things here. I've got my own logo, and I can add that and customize it as long as you upgrade to off the free version, and that's fine. So the ReStream one stays there, and that is the key thing. So if you want to get rid of that, you have to upgrade. Then also, you can move the logo, so you can put it on the left or the right, and you can change the design. One thing about this, you've got for each scene, you've got customize. So what I can do is I could make that look like that, or we could actually take the names off and we can move things around. So I could actually say, well, I want it to look a little bit different. You've then got for this, I've got, for example, background pictures again. So then if you want to add your overlays, you can add overlays, you can add backgrounds. So you've got backgrounds here. So I've got backgrounds that I've added in over the years. And obviously if I want to use them, I've got to upgrade. But they've got some ones that are pre-built in. So you can just start using the ones that they have to begin with. So we've got a couple of overlays here. If you add your own, you need to upgrade, but I can start using their cool little funky things. There you go, live on ReStream, and that's fine. And just as simple as that, all I need to do is put that camera facing, my pedal board pointing down. So if I do that, and then we go to this look, I can move this to there. So that is the main camera. There we go. And then I'm in the corner. Hi. But what I'm going to do is, for me being in the corner, I can pick which corner. So I'm going to go over this side, and then we'll just make it a little bit bigger, but we're going to put the radius on and do that. And we're going to actually make it into a circle. There we go. Nice. So therefore, we can actually showcase the pedal board while we're playing, and then you can see me in the corner. But then when we've finished playing and we're just talking to the audience, we can switch things around. So we can move over to here. That's still the pedal board. This is the camera for the pedal board. And then we've got the other camera here just looking at you. It really is that simple. But the other thing you can do, which I really, really like, and I'm just going to put this back to the way I like it, which is this way. So we're going to have it like this. One thing I really like on the side here is you've got stuff like QR codes. So I start using these to sell my courses. You've got background music if you're just chatting. You can put things up. So I've had things before where I've brought this up and it says, you know, basically 10 different things about looping, check your gear and stuff. And then you've got the chat. So you can actually bring the chat in as an overlay so people can see you chatting. Now the key thing with this that I really love as a musician is if I'm live streaming on both Facebook and YouTube at the same time, both comments from both channels come up over here and people can see each other's comments. I've had people talking to each other even when they're on separate platforms. And that's a really cool thing. And then if you don't want that, of course, you can see the way this is built. I can make this full screen. So that just comes up as an overlay over the top. I can then take that off. So we can say, hide the chat overlay. Let's bring back the other camera. There it is. Let's move it over to here. So we'll change cameras. You see how this works and it's really cool. If you've got guests that you're bringing in, you can do a private chat between your guests. There's loads on there. And what's amazing about this is this software, the basic one with the logo here, is completely free. Now I've got a link that's in the description box for ReStream, and if you sign up to ReStream you get $10 of ReStream credit, which will help you get in towards the standard or the pro model and obviously give you some money off, which is cool. If you do want to go pro, you can obviously do $16 a month or $39 a month if you feel like it's worth it. I do feel like it's worth going to the professional version, and I think that's really, really good because you can do a multi-stream to 5 channels. You can do split audio and video downloads, which is really cool. So once you finish a live stream, you can grab the audio. You can do video looping, but the big one as well is we could utilize these 2 cameras and have full HD 1080p quality, which is really, really cool. Now these are both 1080, and I don't really know anyone who's live streaming higher than 1080 unless it's like the Super Bowl or one of the big TV channels. So if you're streaming on Twitch or YouTube or Instagram or even TikTok, you could use these really easily as most people are watching you on their phone. Because of the OBSBOT Center software, available both on PC and Mac, you can control it in some really cool ways. And then you're set up for a live stream just so simply. Go and check these out. Thank you very much to OBSBOT for sponsoring this video. And if you want to check out the individual reviews of these 2, that's the 2 videos that have just come up. I'm going to try and place them like where they are. Hopefully that's worked. Go and check them out. They are pretty cool, as you've seen.